And we are live. Welcome to another edition of DT Live. This morning I've got my coffee, and I plan on streaming for about an hour and a half. I can't stream too long today because I do have work later. But I had a couple of distros that I really have been needing to take a look at for a few days now. I need to take a look at Ben Fitzpatrick's and Michael Moore's Arch spin that they're calling Hackman Linux. They've asked me to take a look at that, and I've had the ISO for a few days, and I really haven't had time to play with it. I also needed to take a look at Presentarms, his Trinity PCLOS OS. I have taken a look at that one before a couple of times on the channel. I've actually installed it on physical hardware, ran it in live USBs, played with it in VirtualBox before. So I know that distro really well, but that distro is what the Big Daddy Linux crew plans on doing a review of tonight on the Big Daddy Show, and I am not positive that I will be able to make the Big Daddy Show. I know I won't make it at the beginning of the show. It's possible I make it before the show ends, but there's a very good chance that I won't make it home in time. So I was going to do a quick little review of Trinity PCLOS OS, just in case I don't get a chance to do it on the Big Daddy Show. I think I owe that to Presentarms because it's a fantastic distro, and I love promoting it. Also, he does a great open box Trinity or open box PCLOS OS spin too. Played around with that a little bit too. Have it on one of my extra drives on my IC dot. And then I thought about, in the last couple of minutes of the stream, I'm just going to take a very quick look at TempleOS. I don't know much about it. It's not really much of an operating system anyway, but the creator of TempleOS is a guy named Terry Davis, and he may or may not have passed away today. We're not sure. There have been some stories floating around on the internet that the creator of TempleOS may have passed away, but those are all unconfirmed. The sources seem to be mostly a post over on 4chan and somebody posting something on Twitter. Not exactly reliable sources, but there's also haven't been any reliable sources saying, hey, Terry's alright either, so not sure about that, but I thought I'd take a look at TempleOS anyway. Just, play around with it for a few minutes on camera because I've never really checked it out. Anyway, let's check out who is in the chat already. Several of you guys were here early, so yeah, Mr. GFY, yay, and you're first. Yeah, back on top, Mr. GFY. Swegman was here. He says, hey. Says, I should set notifications for this. This is the first live I'm watching on time. And of course, Presentarms is here. How you doing? We will check out your distro very shortly. Alice is here. How you doing, Alice? Good to see you again. Mountain J. Werbrat Kicks. Interesting username. I'm not sure if I've seen that one before. Welcome to the channel, though. Camo Dude says hi. Isaac. Sup, y'all? Tears Falling is here. Red Hut. E4R says hi. Vagina Spider. He says hi, all. Where do you guys come up with these names? Seriously. Andy says hello. Gam, hello. Ivan, hey, all. Ray's here. All right. Well, I won't spend too much time in the chat because, again, I'm kind of limited on time this morning. I have a little bit of a time window that I can do this stream, and then I've got to get out of here and get to work. So let me move on to the distros here. I will make a mark in the chat so I can come back to it later if I have time. Anyway, I'm going to take a look at Ben Fitzpatrick and Michael Moore's distro here. This is their Arch-based distro, Hackman Linux. Hackman Linux is a beginner-friendly distribution based on Arch. The distro's goal is to bring new users over to the world of Arch by offering an easy-to-install, out-of-the-box Arch experience. It's going to use XFCE, the PAMAC package manager, Trizen, the AUR helper, and an easy-to-use ncurses-based installer. I won't run through any of the installs on camera for these distros because I didn't want to waste time. With the installations, most of these installations you've seen before. I've done the PCLOS OS installation several times on the channel. This particular Arch install does use a pretty standard ncurses installer. Not exactly sure what the name of that particular installer is, but it was pretty simple to get through. I've used it in other Arch-based installers. See, I've got Hackman down here. Let me go ahead and launch it. I gave Hackman 2 cores of my 6-core CPU, gave it 4 gigs of RAM. I will say that Hackman came with quite a large number of programs installed by default. It was, a full suite of programs. Let me see what the size on that ISO was. I pulled down the ISO. It was 2.4 gigs in size. So, rather large. Alright, I will say one thing when you first, if you download the ISO, and I will create a link actually for this right now before I forget about it. I should actually link to the downloads for all these distros. I will put a link to Hackman and Trinity right now in the show description. If you refresh the page, hopefully they will show up. Alright, so the live image, when you first log in, you only have the live user, and he's called Linux. He does not have a password, so do not bother typing a password. Also, you cannot log into the default session. You have to change to XFCE. The default section does not work. It just kicks you right back into the login manager when you try to log in. I've already run through the install, though. I've created a user with a strong and complicated password. I'm going to log into my XFCE session. Also, I didn't bother going through the trouble of trying to get the VirtualBox guest editions installed in either this or PC Linux OS. I'm not sure if they're installed by default. They're not on this one. They might be on PC Linux OS. But I'm not too concerned about it either way. We'll just roll with it without the guest editions installed today. But I will zoom in a little bit here for us. Alright, so this is Hackman Linux. Pretty cool wallpaper. Yoda, big Star Wars fan myself. Actually, I was wearing a Star Wars shirt yesterday. Like Star Wars, like Star Trek, bit of a Trekkie too. Pretty cool Hackman Linux logo. I like the hack menu here. The hack icon for the installer. Speaking of the installer, am I still... No, this should be gone because I'm not running this off a live image anymore. Let me double check and make sure, but I'm pretty sure I detached the ISO. Yeah, the ISO is gone. So this is the actual installed Hackman. So I'm not sure why I still have an icon for the installer on the desktop. Really, we should get rid of that because that is potentially dangerous to still have an installer on the machine after you've already installed something, because you could accidentally go through the installer again and completely wipe out your system, format the drive again and whatnot. So, thanks for the super chat, Red Moth. Appreciate that, buddy. Real quick, Red Moth here. Yeah, Solaris 11.4 recently released. Would be interesting to see a review because why not? You know what? I wouldn't mind doing that actually. I haven't done any Solaris or any kind of Unix on the channel, any of those. So that's not a bad idea. I will definitely write that down and try to add that to my to-do list and see if I can get to that sometime for you, Breadmoth. Also, just very quickly, there's a few things that passed in the chat that were interesting questions. Yeah, one of you guys, what's the accent? My accent? Louisiana. That's where I'm at. So, southern U.S. Louisiana, not a Cajun accent, though. Not Cajun. Just redneck. Hillbilly. Well, really, swamp billy. There's no hills in Louisiana. Alright. Back to Hackman here. So I deleted the installer. Also, I really don't need all that on the desktop. Really, we don't need desktop icons at all. If I right-click and go to desktop settings, maybe I can get rid of that. Icons. Yeah, get rid of the home icon, get rid of the trash icon. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Alright. So, much cleaner now. Anyway, I'm just going to quickly go through the menu because, again, ton of applications installed by default here on their Arch spin. So, under accessories, we have Application Finder. We have our backup utility. Let's see, are they using Time Shift? And it looks like Deja Dupe. So they're using Deja Dupe, which is the standard backup and restore utility for Ubuntu. So you guys that are familiar with Ubuntu's backup, same thing. Also under accessories, we have our bulk rename tool, Catfish File Search, which is the standard file search utility for XFCE. A pretty cool little program. Also under accessories, we have Clipman, which is our clipboard that sits down here in the notification tray if I launched it. We have our Conky Manager, which manages Conky themes. There's no Conky running, though. If I click Conky Manager, were there some Conkies that were installed by default? Let me just pick one. See if it'll start one. It may or may not. I'm not exactly sure how this thing works. If I hit the little play button, it's almost like a music player. Does it actually launch a Conky? I don't think it does. Yeah, it's not actually starting any of them. Might have to play around with that a bit more in the future. We have the GNOME disk utility under accessories, ngrandpa, which is an archive manager for zip, unzip, tar-gz, that sort of thing. Calculator is our calculator. Nice calculator, horrible name. Calculator. What were you guys thinking? You know, the free and open source software community, if there's one thing we've never gotten right, is naming conventions. Name your programs sane and sensible names. The HP device manager is here for Hewlett-Packard devices. We have our menu editor. This is to edit the XFCE menu. So, also under accessories, mousepad is the standard text editor in XFCE. Nice plain text editor. Mousepad 0.4.1. Anyway, a ton of stuff here under the accessories category. Notes, we have global time, screenshot utility. Thunar, of course, is our file manager in XFCE, the standard XFCE file manager. Pretty cool file manager. And one thing I do want to check out that was here is the task manager. Let's check out that. CPU, let it settle down. Again, we gave it 2 cores, my 6-core CPU, and it settles down to, yeah, using practically nothing. 2%, 4%, 1%, 3%, yeah. Memory, gave it 4 gigs. It's using 10% of that. So, that's not bad. That is pretty low. Pretty standard XFCE desktop, actually. Really good on system resources, yet, you know, it's a full desktop environment. Matter of fact, both this and the next one that I'm going to review, the Trinity PC Linux OS, they're both full desktop environments, very, very lightweight. XFCE, a little heavier than Trinity, but still really light. Should run on practically anything you throw it at. Also under accessories, we have Vim, XFburn. XFburn's the standard disk burning utility in XFCE. Not a bad disk burning utility. Can't really burn anything here in a VM, so... Alright, so development, we have, you know, some cute 4 stuff for programmers, for, you know, developers. Under education, the only educational program we have is LibreOffice Math. Under games, alright, we have Steam. I'm sure that's the Steam installer. Linux Breakout 2 is also here. That is a Arkanoid-style arcade game. Wonder what that's about. Strange that they included that, but it looks like kind of a cool game. Old school retro game. I guess just to have at least one game that's playable, maybe off the live image, is probably why they included that, which I think is nice. Just have something to kill the time, you know. Graphics, wow, we have Blender, we have GIMP, LibreOffice Draw, Penta, Shotwell, Simple Scan, and View Noir. So quite a bit of graphics programs. Internet, Chromium is our browser, Deluge is our BitTorrent client. I really like the Deluge BitTorrent client. Usually the one I install if a distro does not have one installed by default. Transmission is nice. The GNOME BitTorrent client transmission is not bad either. eLinks is a web browser, minimal web browser. Chromium and is the real web browser here. Actually, Firefox is here too. FileZilla is a FTP program, file transfer protocol. That's for uploading files to a remote server, such as a web server. HexChat is our IRC chat client. On a lot of distros, they have those IRC chat clients set to automatically default to whatever the IRC free node network is, the support network for that distro. There is no support network for this distro, obviously. This is pretty much a two-man distro, kind of something these guys threw together recently. So I'm not sure what kind of support you could get from Ben or Matthew. I'm sure they'd help you out, though, if you wanted to get some help over on their SourceForge page that I linked to in the show description. LFTP, another FTP program. Mumble is here. Pigeon, which is an instant messaging client. Steam, again. Thunderbird for an email client. And ZenMap under multimedia. A ton of multimedia programs. Audacity, that is a audio editor. It's what I use sometimes to edit audio for my YouTube channel. Cheese is a webcam application. Basically, you open that up and you have a little window with the picture from your webcam, kind of like you guys are seeing my webcam right now. This is not Cheese here, but something similar. GUVC View, again, another webcam program similar to Cheese, so two different webcam applications. Handbrake is a transcoder. K3B is another disk burner. That is KDE's disk burner. It's actually the best disk burning utility we have as far as free and open source software. K3B is just fantastic. I install it regardless whether I'm running KDE or not. I never run KDE, but I always install K3B. I always install Kdenlive as well. Kdenlive is the best free and open source video editor we have. Fantastic program. LMMS. This is not something you see every day installed. This is Linux Multimedia Studio. This is for creating like MIDI tracks. So this is something, the kind of thing you would see on a distro, maybe like Ubuntu Studio or some of these very multimedia-centric distros. So you don't see LMMS installed on very many distros at all, really. Media Info OpenShot is another video editor. I'm not sure why they install. So they have a lot of duplication here. You know, we had several web browsers. We also have two different video editors. I'm not sure why somebody would choose to use OpenShot when Kdenlive is here. So get rid of OpenShot if you're going to put Kdenlive on the ISO. Pulse Audio's here. Rhythmbox, fantastic. Music player, the standard music player in the GNOME desktop environment, but it's a really nice program. I don't mind them including that. We also have VLC, video for Linux, and XFburn again. Simple Screen Recorder is also here for recording your desktop. Simple Screen Recorder is great if all you want to do is just record your desktop, or in my case I have 3 monitors. One monitor is what I use to record a lot of my distro reviews, especially early on in the channel. Simple Screen Recorder is fantastic. Office, we have the entire LibreOffice suite, and then calendar and global time again. And then of course we have our settings and system stuff. Anything here that stands out that's not something you see every day. No, it all looks like your typical settings and preferences program. Gparted would be nice on the live image because a lot of times you would use a live USB as a system rescue USB stick, for example. Gparted is nice to have. Probably not something you need on the installed version. A lot of distros, what they do, they'll have Gparted on the live image, but if you actually install it, you know, they delete Gparted off the installed distro. Similar to how they get rid of the installer too, for safety reasons, so nobody accidentally opens Gparted and starts playing around with it. Anyway, that's just a very quick look at what's installed on Hackman. Let me get back to the chat before the chat just gets way out of hand. Kind of passed me by here. Alright, so let's see where I was. Yeah, Bread Moth, again, thanks for the super chat, buddy. Really appreciate that. That really helps out. Really helps out on some of the purchases I have to make for this channel. Equipment costs, for example. Speaking of which, this Panasonic Lumix G7 that I've had for about a week or so. How you guys liking the camera quality? Most of you guys seem to really think the camera was a smart purchase. I think so too. I've been really happy with the new camera. Yeah, Alice, I don't see the purpose of an Arch spin. Yeah, that's one thing I'll get to. So it's another Arch-based distribution using XFCE. What's different about it than Manjaro XFCE or Swag Arch, which is a really nice XFCE Arch distro, or, you know, a dozen others? That's a good point. Yeah, Dan, having the installer seems bad. Yeah, I mean, again, this is kind of a garage kind of distro, something, a couple of guys just threw together. But if you were going to make this, a real distro and put it out there for support, I wouldn't leave the installer on the installed distro. Get rid of it. I'd get rid of gparted too. I think that's kind of dangerous to leave on there too. Yeah, bread moth. It's not Cajun though. Yeah, not a Cajun accent. Not Cajun at all. Swamp Billy. Yeah, that's correct, Mr. GFY. Swamp Billy, not Hillbilly. It's very flat where I'm at. I'm not too far from the Mississippi River, within, an hour's drive. So everything's flat here because this is all floodplain, right? Historically, before they started, leveeing up the Mississippi, it used to flood for miles and miles in every direction. The land is very flat here. Let's see. There are more DT and Surge Slackware. Yeah, me and Surge will probably do one more Slackware video, I think. That's what we talked about before, doing a third one eventually. We may do some other stuff not related to Slackware too. Eventually, we may do something on another distro. He likes Gen 2. I don't mind Gen 2. We might do a Gen 2 video or some other, I don't know. Maybe do something with Arch. I love Arch. I don't know. I'll do something with Surge though. Gotta find the right time for it. Yeah, I need a Bob Ross wig for Halloween. For Halloween, we'll do that. Now, for Halloween, I'm gonna probably do Dr. Evil or maybe Bruce Willis from Die Hard. I gotta do one of those bald white guys. So, those are easy. So, Halloween, expect something special from me. Yeah, there's no mistakes in Linux. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Bob Ross. Let me skip ahead some of the chat here before I get completely lost in it. Yeah, try to keep some warm coffee. Yeah, got the coffee. That's Sky Bear there. Good to see you. And Clive's here. How you doing, Clive? Donkey? Alright, let me get ahead here before I get lost, yeah. Yeah, Bread Moth, yeah, you're gonna... Another super chat. I also enjoy your videos with Surge on Slackware. Hopefully there will be more of these. Also, it is decided per chat you have to do a Linux review in the style of Bob Ross. Oh, okay. Me and Surge, I've been conversing with him a little bit in email, and the problem is I don't have a set schedule, so I have to find some time when I have a couple of days off, and then get with him when he has time. Obviously, both of us, have jobs. There's a time zone difference, too. But we will do something. Bob Ross? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'd have to get a wig, though. I'm sure they sell them, though. It's probably a hot item, the Bob Ross wig. Yeah, this channel needs more Bob Ross, says Alice. Yeah, I love Manjaro, says Camo. Yeah, Manjaro's solid. Yeah, Dennis is here. This time I managed to be there while the stream is live, yeah. Alright, so for sake of time, I do need to get back to this and wrap it up here, because I got a lot to get to in a very short amount of time, because I have got to shut this stream down on time today. Alright, anyway, so basically your standard XFCE Arch-based distro, as I think Alice was saying, yeah, there's not really too much to it. Desktop settings, if I go wallpapers, some pretty cool wallpapers here. Nothing too unusual there. I'm not sure if I've seen these wallpapers before. Let's see. Obviously, that's an interesting one, the Yoda one. Not a bad little collection of wallpapers, though. Some XFCE branded wallpapers. So this might be the standard XFCE wallpaper pack, plus some additional stuff that Ben and Matt threw in here. The Hackman, of course, with Yoda. Their own creation, I'm sure. As far as, the right-click menu here, it does have, basically your hack menu over here, accessories, development, and all that. You do have the right-click menu. It's similar to what OpenBox does with a right-click menu, so I really liked that. That's kind of useful for somebody like me, because I'd probably just get rid of the one down here if I use this one. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm weird like that, I like to strip things down. Speaking of stripping things down, let's open up a terminal. Before we go too much further, what kernel are we running? We are running 4.18.5. That is a very recent kernel. And you can see actually in the NeoFetch information at the top here, when this terminal launched, we only were using 360 megs of RAM. So very light RAM usage. HTOP, open up HTOP, yeah, 393 megs of RAM. Some of that is being used by HTOP running. Also, we have some stuff running down here in the sys tray. We have this weather application, weather report. Is this mail? No new mail. Of course, that's the network manager. This is PAMAC. Is this going to try to update the system for us? Yes, it will. I really don't want to do that, even if there are updates, because it will cause the stream to buffer, because obviously it's going to download stuff from the internet. Ray in the chat, Deja Dupe is now duplicity. That's correct. Old habits die hard, though. It's always going to be Deja Dupe to me. Anyway, so failed to execute the command GPU chooser. Okay, so there's supposed to be some application there, properties, and GPU chooser. Okay, so some kind of something to do with our graphics card, and that's interesting, but that application is failing right here, but that is probably because I'm in VirtualBox. VirtualBox does not actually utilize my GPU, so overall, what do I think? Very clean, polished distro. The install, which I didn't show on camera, very straightforward. Ncurses based installer, so it's not like a graphical installer. It's not the Calamaris installer. It's Ncurses, but it's pretty straightforward. The install took, I don't know, 10 minutes, maybe 15 at the most. Pretty straightforward. But Alice was asking, what is the purpose of Hackman? Well, I mean, these guys want to create a distro, right? Ben and Matt. I mean, I don't know. They're it's a project, right? And some of these distros, they don't have to have like some special I purpose. I guess it would be great if they did. But for example, if I got a wild hair one day and I wanted to create my own distro, whether anybody uses it or not, whether anybody finds it useful, it would be a project, right? And I would probably do something Debian-based with OpenBox, right? That's my kind of distro. And are there other distros out there that do that? Oh yeah, plenty. But that's not going to keep me from doing what I want to do as far as, what interests me, as far as a project. So, interesting project nonetheless. Matter of fact, Ben is now in the chat. Ben, you're showing up right as I am about to move on to the next distro, but I was checking out your Hackman distro. Let's see. Let me get to the chat for a second, see if I can find... Yeah, Ben, he says, I'm here, Derek. All right, good to see you. Ben says, hi to everybody in the chat. Yeah, Ben, yeah, good job on the distro, you and Matthew Moore. Nice distro. I had absolutely no bugginess in this thing. The only issue I had when I tried to install it, and this was off camera, the live user is called Linux, and you had emailed me and told me he doesn't have a password, which was correct. He doesn't have a password, but I couldn't log in with that user logging into the default session. So that was kind of a bug. I can actually show you that. Other than that, everything works well. When you first launch into the live image, desktop is set to default, and the default user is Linux. He has no password. If you hit enter right now, it just kicks you right back out into the login manager, even with my user, DT, which I created with a password. If I try to log in to the default session, it kicks me right back into the login manager. So you have to go down here and change default to XFCE. And now it will let me log in. So was the only thing that was a little wonky. So I'm not sure if that's something you guys can change. Maybe get rid of the default option in the login manager. But other than that, beautiful XFCE desktop, standard XFCE desktop with a ton of programs installed. Notice you guys really focus too on multimedia applications. That might be a little niche you guys can feel. Maybe go in that direction as far as marketing. Marketing to multimedia stuff. You guys are doing a lot of graphic stuff, a lot of sound, a lot of video stuff. So anyway, 2 packages available for update. I'm not going to take that update. Anyway, good job, Ben. Everybody in the chat, let Ben know what you think about his distro. If you guys want to check out Ben's distro, again, I linked to Hackman Linux in the show description. You guys pull down that ISO, give it a spin for yourself. Works well in VirtualBox. Works fine off of live USB too. I didn't install it on physical hardware, but I'm sure it would be fine. It's your standard Arch-based distro, so should be no problems with that. Alright, so let me move on. Since I'm short on time here, and I'm just going to go straight into Trinity PCLOS OS, which is interesting. The last time I reviewed one of Ben's custom ISOs, it was a Manjaro spin Ben did, and I did that as part of a double feature with Presentarms Trinity PCLOS OS. It was not planned for me to do that again today. Originally, it just happened to be I really needed to take a look at Ben's distro because I've had it for a few days, and Presentarms, I probably will not be able to make Big Daddy Linux live tonight. I usually try to join those guys every Saturday night, but I have to work tonight, and I'm getting off kind of late, and I may not get home before their show ends, and they're reviewing your distro on Big Daddy Linux Live, and I won't be there for it. So I was just going to take a quick look at your distro here in a VM for purposes of this channel, but I've also looked at his distro on physical hardware a few times. Also used it on live USB sticks. It just works. Used his Trinity spin a lot actually over the past few months, and he's also created a custom open box spin just for me that I've used for a little over a month now on one of my extra drives on my IC dock. It is very similar as far as how light and fast it is, the open box spin. It and Trinity are very much similar, except obviously one is GTK based. Anyway, this is the Trinity desktop that the Big Daddy Linux guys are going to look at. Now, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to attack it, but for me, why I have always been a fan of the Trinity desktop, and in particular Presentarms Trinity spin, is speed. But before we get into that, as always, let's see what is actually installed on the system here. So his ISO is a little bit lighter than Ben's, so there's not going to be a whole lot here. So under development, we have Glade, Icon Browser, K-Hex Edit. Again, some development stuff for those of you that are into software development. Edutainment, that is an interesting category. We have LibreOffice Math, looks like some educational games, Blinken, KTurtle, Science. We have LibreOffice Math again, not much there. Under games, we have a couple of arcade style games, K Space Duel and Golf with a K. Again, you open source software developers really need to come up with better names. Golf for a golf game. Yeah. Board games, we have K Reversi, card games, games for kids, yada yada yada. Anyway, some standard, a lot of them are the KDE games. Graphics, a lot of graphics programs. Wow, Darktable is here. Digicam is here, GIMP, K-Color Chooser, Color Paint, a lot of the KDE programs. Kuka, LibreOffice Draw. That's interesting, yeah. And Darktable. That's an interesting one to include. It's really nice of Presentarms to include Darktable. You don't see that installed by default on too many distros out there. It kind of opened up larger than I wanted. Alright, Internet. We have Dropbox installed by default. That's nice. I'm a Dropbox user. I'm not sure how Dropbox is going to go as far as now that they're no longer supporting pretty much all our Linux file systems other than unencrypted Extend 4. I am a longtime Dropbox user, and I am now starting to explore other options because I just think that is complete garbage that Dropbox basically wants to force you to use a certain file system to use their syncing service, because it's almost like they need you to run a certain file system so they can spy on you. I'm throwing that out there. I have no proof of it, but Dropbox works with every file system known to man. It always has. And now all of a sudden they only want you to use this one type of file system. That's strange. I don't like it. I don't trust it. So I'm moving away from Dropbox very soon. FileZilla is here. It's a FTP program, file transfer protocol, for uploading files to a web server. I just tried to launch FileZilla. Is it taking a long time to launch? It is. It may have not launched. It may have crashed. Of course, this is a VM. It's giving me some bugginess here, this menu here. Not sure the specs I gave this VM here. For I know I gave Ben's distro 2 cores of my 6-core CPU and 4 gigs of RAM. I think I gave the same to PC Linux OS, but for some reason the internet category here is not wanting to come back up ever since I tried to launch FileZilla. Let me see if I can open up a terminal here, maybe try to kill FileZilla from whatever it's trying to do. While I wait on that though, we'll get back to the chat for a second. Cough. Yeah, that's a horrible name. Who would name their program KOLF? Cough. Big Daddy Linux is here. How you doing, sir? You guys, you should definitely check out Big Daddy's show every Saturday night. They do a show every Saturday night at 10:30 Eastern every Saturday, 9:30 Central. Again, I probably won't be able to make the show tonight with you guys, but I really wanted to share some opinions on the Trinity PC Linux OS, because I have used it in the past. I've installed it on physical hardware several times. I've reviewed it a couple of times on the channel, at least 2 or 3 times. He also has created a custom spin for me that uses OpenBox. It's really nice. I'm not sure if he wants to share that with the public. It's not something I don't think he's created a website or anything for. And yeah, Big Daddy, thanks for the super chat, buddy. Let's get this train rolling. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, there's some bugginess going on here in this VM, and I don't think it's the VM's problem. I think it's actually my machine. I may have too much stuff going on. I've got several browser tabs open, plus this VM, plus OBS, plus Firefox, the chat. I don't know, it's like everything's kind of sluggish. Keyboard and mouse are not wanting to work. Anyway, let me make sure that FileZilla, when I tried to launch it, yeah, it's not. It never launched, so I'm not sure what's going on here. But I don't think this is a problem with PC Linux OS. I've never had a problem with PC Linux OS before running in a VM. So anyway, moving on. Multimedia. Kdenlive is here. Pretty much all your standard KDE apps. Amarok. Now Amarok kind of was a dead project for a few years. They just recently started seeing some new development. So Amarok is kind of back. But really Amarok, what happened is they just ceased development for a while, and some guys took it, forked it, and created Clementine, which to be honest is a better program than Amarok. Audacity's here, standard audio editor. GU VCView, again, webcam. K3B. A lot of the same apps we saw actually in Hackman, even though obviously 2 very different desktop environments. His was using XFCE, obviously Trinity is the old KDE 3.5. But honestly, a lot of our standard programs are standard regardless of what desktop environment. Like if you want an audio editor, you want Audacity, right? If you want a disk burning utility, K3B is what you want to go with regardless of desktop environment. Presentarms, you include OBS installed by default on your distro. Now that is really nice, and I'm actually going to talk about that in a little bit. Very quickly, Office, you got the entire LibreOffice suite, settings, your standard setting stuff for KDE. Nothing really I need to point out here. For sake of time, though, I will mention a couple of things. Thank you, Rob, for that super chat. Red Robbo's Workshop. Choo-choo, huh? Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Yeah, Big Daddy. 87 people watching, only 27 liked the smash. But yeah, thumbs up that video, guys. It really does help. It helps me rank better as far as the YouTube algorithms. More eyes on this video, more eyes on the channel, more eyes on Linux content. You know, it really helps spread awareness for Linux and open source. So yeah, not just for me, but all the guys, you know, all the Linux related channels you guys are subscribed to. Yeah, always remember to thumbs up those videos. If you enjoy their content, subscribe, like, share. Even if you just stop by for a couple of minutes, if you just got here, you're only here for a couple of minutes, you don't have time to watch this, you may not even have time to rewatch the replay later, you know, just hit that thumbs up button. Again, it does help us. Oh, one thing I wanted to get to real quick, as far as on physical hardware. Now this is a VM, but I have Trinity PCLOS OS. I've had it installed on physical machines in the past. I have his OpenBox PCLOS OS installed on physical hardware right now. It is fantastic. It is very fast. It is very lightweight. Both of them, both his spins. Everything about it is great. One thing I will say about the underlying distro that he based on, PCLOS OS, it's fantastic. I love that it's a RPM distro. It uses the apt package manager, so it's using not apt, but apt-get, sudo apt-get, for example, for an update. We're not sudo is not installed on this system, so I actually just have to switch over to su. Did I create a root password? I can't remember. We'll see. Yeah, there's some bugginess here too. That took longer. You know what? I may need to change the batteries in my wireless keyboard. That may be part of the problem. Because it's like I'm typing, but it's not really registering what I'm typing. Okay, there it goes. Anyway, apt-get update. So this is the standard. Yeah, it's definitely a problem with my keyboard. Okay. So nothing wrong with the distro. Nothing wrong with the distro in VirtualBox. Again, I've played with it a number of times. It's this keyboard. It's not registering some of the commands I'm typing. So it's a RPM distro. Uses the apt package manager. So apt-get update, apt-get upgrade would be how you would update the system. Apt-get install, of course, would be how you would install hardware. But my favorite terminal emulator. Now I'm going to get into some geekier stuff. Most people don't care about terminal emulators. You're just going to take whatever is presented to you, in this case console with a K, KDE's terminal emulator, which is fantastic. But I like to use other terminal emulators like Termite. Termite is not here. That's not that strange. Termite is in a lot of repos out there, but it's not in every distro's repos. But one that is in every distro's repos I've ever tried was RxVT Unicode, URXVT. But apt-get RxVT-Unicode. And I can go ahead and tell you before it reads the package list, it's not here. And it's not a naming problem. If I tried it as URXVT, it's not here. And if I search for RxVT Unicode is not in the repos. So that's a problem for me. I mean, it's not a big problem. I don't mind using console. Big Daddy's new keyboard fund. I've actually thought about buying a new keyboard. I've had this keyboard, 5-6 years. It's just a cheap, Logitech wireless keyboard. Nothing special. I bought this with a mouse, combination wireless keyboard and mouse for, 20, 30 bucks, whatever it was. Not expensive at all, but I'm cheap. I'm cheap. I'm thrifty. I don't spend money on anything. Oh, the last thing I will mention on physical hardware, I can't demonstrate it here in the VM this evening here. OBS Studio, love OBS. One of the reasons why I don't stream, even though I love Presentarms, PC Linux OS spins, why I never do a stream from inside his spins of PC Linux OS, because I've got one of them installed on physical hardware, is when I go to settings and go to, let's see, is it output? Yeah. And the encoder, the only encoder that is available for me is software X264. Now in a VM, that's all that's going to be here anyway, because it's not using my NVIDIA card. But on physical hardware, still the only encoder available is software X264. NVENC, the H264, which really is needed. You need to use your video card for encoding. It's not available. And it's not available. I mean, if I go to Synaptic, NVENC, there is an NVENC package in the Synaptic Package Manager, or you could apt-get install. I think the name of the program is actually NVENC. But even after installing that, again on physical hardware, still doesn't show up. So I don't think that whatever they're doing with OBS Studio, they're not building that with NVENC support, their binaries for it. So I would probably have to compile OBS myself with NVENC support. That kind of is a deal breaker for somebody like me, because I have to use OBS all the time. So I probably couldn't use PC Linux OS as my daily driver. Not just Presentarms. His Trinity spin and his OpenBox spin are fantastic, but PC Linux OS itself I probably couldn't use, again, unless I compile my own OBS, which not something I want to fool with. Yeah, Zeb, how you doing, sir? Thank you for the super chat. Clickety-clack. Clickety-type. Okay. My keyboard, some people do mention it's kind of loud. Matter of fact, I do get people sometimes on these streams, sometimes will ask me, what kind of mechanical keyboard am I using? They think I'm using some kind of high-dollar mechanical keyboard. No, it's just cheap. It's cheap and loud. Yeah, Presentarms, you'll be making apt and alias in future ISOs. I was actually going to suggest that. apt-get, that's kind of old school. Ubuntu and Debian, they haven't used apt-get in a while. By default, it's just everything is, apt install, apt remove, apt update, apt upgrade. So yeah, create a bash alias for that and just get rid of apt-get. And make things simpler. Yeah, Omega Guy. The official NVIDIA drivers should fix that. Yeah, but it doesn't. Again, I've got this on physical hardware, and I've got the proprietary NVIDIA drivers installed on physical hardware. I've also installed the NVENC package. It still does not show up as an option in OBS to use the NVENC encoder. I don't know why. Now, and Presentarms in the chat does mention OBS does have an app image. I haven't tried the app image. Maybe I should pull down the OBS app image instead of using OBS from the PC Linux OS repos. I think OBS also does have a Flatpak. I'm not sure if I can get a Flatpak to work on PC Linux OS. I'm assuming I can. I know Flatpak used to have a requirement that you had to have systemd on the system to install a Flatpak, but I think they got rid of that recently. I don't think you need systemd anymore to install Flatpaks. Could be wrong about that. But I should try both the app image and the Flatpak to see if I can get the NVENC to work with those. If not, again, maybe I could try to build OBS from source myself. Now, that's a lot of work, Yeah, Omega says building OBS Studio is not that time consuming, though. Only way I get the newest version of OBS Studio on Debian Stable. Well, yeah, on Debian Stable, you're not getting new versions of anything unless you build it yourself. Yeah, snap install OBS Studio. I can't use snaps, though, on PC Linux OS. Snaps do require systemd. They still have that hard dependency. You have to have systemd on the system. So that is unfortunate with snaps. Toss is here. After you hack Arch, you curse the Trinity and ask forgiveness at the temple. Speaking of which, I do need to move on to the TempleOS I was going to take a look at. So I do have to shut this down pretty soon because I have to get to work. Unfortunately, I have to work all evening, and again, got to work pretty late, so I probably will miss Toss's stream, or not Toss's, Big Daddy's stream tonight. Toss, if you stream tonight, I'm probably going to miss your stream too. Won't be home till kind of late. Anyway, you guys that are looking for a fast, lightweight distro, though, check out Presentarms, his Trinity PCLOS OS. I've reviewed it a couple of other times on the channel. I've gone a little more in depth than previous looks of it. Anyway, this is TempleOS, this crazy looking thing. I have never looked at TempleOS before, never played with TempleOS before. I know nothing about TempleOS. Why the heck am I taking a look at TempleOS? Okay, TempleOS, formerly known as the J operating system, Sparrow OS, Luz, Thos, is a biblical-themed lightweight operating system created by an American programmer, Terry A. Davis. Terry Davis, he is an interesting character because he is crazy. And I don't mean that crazy as in, you know, a joke. I mean, he really has some very serious mental problems. He's schizophrenic. He created this operating system because basically God told him to. Anyway, reading a little bit from Wikipedia, he developed the system alone over the course of 10 years. It was designed to be the third temple, according to Davis, and uses an interface similar to a mix of DOS and Turbo C, yada yada yada. He built this on a variation of C that he calls Holy C. Anyway, development began in 2003 after Davis suffered from a series of manic episodes that left him briefly hospitalized for mental health issues. He's diagnosed as schizophrenic. He proclaimed he had communications with God and that God told him the operating system he built was for God's third temple. Yada, yada, yada. Anyway, the guy's got some serious mental health issues. In recent times, he's been homeless. There are YouTube videos of him out there talking about his operating system, and even in the YouTube videos, quite frankly, you can tell the guy's got some issues. He proclaims himself to be the best programmer in the world, the greatest programmer in the world. Anyway, it's not a laughing matter. Mental illness is a very serious issue. Homelessness is a very serious issue, and what makes this why I wanted to get into this today is because Terry Davis may or may not have passed away today. Not sure on this. What sparked this was over at Hacker News. I read Hacker News a lot. Terry Davis, author of TempleOS, has passed away. Then they changed it. It's unconfirmed. Mods, please remove. Apparently, somebody over on 4chan posted that Terry Davis had passed away. Then somebody on Twitter posted it because he read it on 4chan. Then people started writing news articles on Hacker News. There's Reddit posts, very large Reddit post actually. Terry Davis might have passed away. It's not confirmed, but this has been a few hours. Nobody's been able to confirm it, so I'm not sure if it's true. It may not be. Hope it's not. But then again, nobody's also confirmed that the guy's still alive. I mean, nobody, friends or family that know the guy has come out and said it's not true either. So I don't know on that. We'll just have to wait and see on that. But anyway, I just thought I would take a very quick look at this distro here. This is a very strange thing, TempleOS. So it's supposed to be some kind of DOS and Turbo C mix, but I believe it is based on Linux. I mean, when I installed this in VirtualBox, I chose Linux as the operating system and other Linux as the version of Linux. So Linux and then other Linux. Ansem, appreciate the super chat, buddy. Much appreciated. And Grant, bald white guy. What about Steve Ballmer? Okay. Yeah, I can't go Steve Ballmer for Halloween. No. There's better bald white guys to be. But anyway, back to the download for this was, I want to say 16 megs. Extremely small. There is nothing to this operating system. Obviously, there's no graphical environment of any kind. There's really nothing to this at all. Install on hard drive. If I could choose Y, but I've already done it. But if you choose Y and hit enter, it's done in half a second. And you reboot the machine, it reboots in half a second. And you pretty much come back to this anyway. Do I want to take a tour? I'll do Y for yes. Now this is kind of confusing how this works. I use the arrow keys to go up and down, but if I want to view the help system, you would think enter would do it, but it doesn't. Space does though. And then I guess this is the help tour. Press F1 for main help index. Again, it's all keyboard driven. To be honest, none of this really makes too much sense. How do we navigate here? I mean, where do I go from here, for example? Like, I have no idea. Does the mouse work? No. Well, I could... Oh, it actually does. It captures the mouse. Okay, so it does have somewhat of a graphical Windows kind of environment. I mean, I can drag these around. I was not expecting that. I had never even considered using the mouse for anything here. Anyway, I have a command prompt. You guys see? I have no idea what I would type in this command prompt. Again, this is not much of a OS anyway. It's very, very geeky. For those that want to know more about this system, let's see if I can escape out of here. I may not be able to. Okay. And this is... that's a strange beast there. Anyway, for those that want to know a little more about TempleOS, as far as those of you that understand geek speak, it's a x86 64-bit, so it is 64-bit, 64-bit only. So non-preemptive, multitasking, multi-core, public domain, open source, ring 0 only, single address space, non-network, PC operating system for recreational programming. There you go. It has keyboard and mouse support, so I guess I should have read the Wikipedia before. It supports the FAT32 and Red C file systems. The Red C file system. Okay. And that, of course, the Red C file system was created by Davis. Again, probably it was divinely inspired. Anyway, this is interesting. I will link to TempleOS if I can find a download for it. Matter of fact, let me search for it. I'll link to the website here. Really neat logo here. The sword and the scales. There's a video with Terry Davis here if you want to read about it. There's also donation links. That would be great if Terry, hopefully if that news of him passing away is not correct. Even if it is correct, though, you may want to donate to him. I'm not sure what's going on there. Anyway, I would just wait and see on some of that. So, sad news either way. Sad news if he passed away. Sad news if he didn't pass away. And for some reason, it's all over the internet today that he passed away. And the genesis of that story appears to be all from 4chan. Like 4chan started it, then Twitter. Of course, Twitter, you know, things can spread like wildfire on Twitter. And, you know, nobody has any, like, hard evidence of where any of this, so, yeah, and Numberpad says he saw it on /G, yeah, on Reddit. Alright, well, I've got a few minutes to kill before I kill the stream, so I will try to catch up on the chat real quick, guys. I do apologize. I know I had to ignore the chat to get through some of the distros. I wanted to just take a quick look. Again, Hackman Linux, great job on Ben and Matt's Arch spin. You guys looking for Arch with XFCE, just looking for something different, check it out. Pretty straightforward distro, easy to install. You guys looking for something really different, if you've never tried PC Linux OS, it's a fine distro. RPM base, uses apt as a package manager. If you're looking for something lightweight, Presentarms, his Trinity PC Linux OS spin is fantastic. It boots up in 200 megs of RAM, and it's a full desktop environment, the old KDE 3.5 desktop environment. Comes with a great suite of apps. I would have no problem living in PC Linux OS and the Trinity PC Linux OS. It's my kind of distro. The only thing that bugged me was the repos are not as big as I would like. PC Linux OS, the repos are pretty big, but it's not Debian big and it's not Arch big. There were some programs I'm used to using that I can't find in PC Linux OS repos, so I would have to build them from source. That is unfortunate, but again, my use cases are a little different than your typical computer user. For those of you that want to play around with something really weird, TempleOS, wow, I don't even know where to begin with that thing. 16 meg download, basically it's almost like a DOS prompt. Divinely inspired, check it out. Mugen's asking, have any of you been homeless? I have never been homeless. If you're asking me, I've been fortunate always to have somewhere to sleep. And technically, Terry Davis, well, he's homeless. I think he's been living out of a car or something for a few months. You can Google that. You can Google his story as far as his mental illness and how he became homeless. I guess he was living with family members, maybe some parents, and then they kicked him out, or he left, or something. I don't. Who knows what the story behind some of this is? Presentarms says, yeah, Steve Ballmer. Go as Steve Ballmer for Halloween. Scare the crap out of the viewers. Yeah. Go as Telly Savalas. Yeah, I like Telly Savalas. Yeah. Kojak. That's what I should do, huh? Farron, yeah, that is the graphical environment. So TempleOS, yeah, that was the graphical environment. I couldn't believe that the mouse actually worked in that thing. That shocked the hell out of me. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, Toss, yeah, Telly Savalas, and some Kojak, yeah. You gotta be pretty old to remember Kojak. Just saying, Toss, and Ansem. Yeah, Dan says it's like getting stuck in VI. Yeah, TempleOS, yeah. You know what? VI, you can get out of it. All you have to do is : W, Q, exclamation point. Or you could do capital ZZ. Either one. Shift ZZ, yeah. I don't know why people just don't think to do those, They're pretty intuitive. I mean, yeah, not enough random input. Yeah. Yeah, and Spudley's right. Yeah, I said that wasn't confirmed. His death has not been confirmed, but until you actually get an obituary from somewhere, But again, it kind of was all over the internet in various places, but nothing. There were no official news articles. There was a hacker news article, and I think there was one other kind of more legit news article, but both of those were taken down pretty quickly when they realized they didn't have any hard sources. So no legit blog or news site is going to post anything about Terry's passing away until they have a legit source, which makes sense. I was actually getting people messaging me about it this morning is the reason I knew about it. I actually didn't come across the articles or anything. I was getting people messaging me on Mastodon and whatnot, telling me about it. So it was a pretty big deal. If you go to Reddit, r Linux on Reddit, there was a couple of threads about that. One rather huge thread, because as soon as somebody mentioned it, everybody's got a comment, And then that thread, I think, was removed by the mods because, again, it's kind of unconfirmed. They may have taken it down at the request of whoever started the thread once they realized it wasn't confirmed. Because a lot of people start spreading these things, and then people will point out, well, where are you getting this information? And then when they realize it comes from 4chan, that's not a legit news source at all. But to be fair to the 4chan guys, and I'll give them some credit here, they do follow things like TempleOS very closely. These geekier kind of things like TempleOS, and Terry Davis is a very popular subject on 4chan. So it wouldn't be surprising if it is legit. So Alright, back to the chat here for a second. Yeah, Kojak is a jaded view of this country. Yeah, Spatry, are you alive? That's great news. Yeah, Spatry, yeah. Matter of fact, I saw, he's here in the chat, smiley face. Yeah, I'll have to try to take a look if I can. Yeah. I saw that Spatry will be back soon. I actually caught the little intro video the other day. I guess you were testing out some new equipment, saying, I guess if you could record, maybe eventually stream in 1080p. It's just a quick clip of his intro and outro over on his channel. You guys should check it out, though. If you've got a good date for when you'll be back, Spatry, let us know in the chat. I'll be sure to catch it. I'm sure a lot of people are, you know. Anyway, the chat just skipped way ahead of me here. Okay. Yeah, Big Daddy's still around, saying hi to Spatry. Yeah, everybody say hi to Spatry. Those of you that are not familiar with Spatry, check out Spatry's Cup of Linux. Long-time Linux YouTuber. He's been away for a while. Now he's back. Fabulous content, though. Even the older stuff, some of that stuff is still really relevant. So I would highly recommend, if you're not a sub to his channel, run over there and make sure you're subscribed to Spatry. Yeah, Dan Doobie. Hi, Spatry. NDT. How you doing, Dan? Good to see you, buddy. Yep. Richard, study the past and you'll know the future. Is that an ancient Chinese proverb? Sounds like it. Johan, how you doing? Alright. Tears falling. Says, bye DT, gotta go. Yep, I actually have to go too. It's I have to leave here in the next 10 minutes or so. Yeah, Big Daddy. He says, we need Spatry on Biddle, Big Daddy Linux Live. Absolutely. Get him on the show. I think that would be great. Yeah, very well, DT. And you, as far as how I'm doing, Johan, I'm doing great. Just enjoying my morning coffee here, and got a long day and night ahead of me. And tomorrow's Sunday, got to work all day Sunday. So that's one of the reasons why I did this stream here and wanted to mention, especially Ben's distro and Presentarms distro here on the channel. It's because I really needed to do something. You know, I told those guys I would take a look at their distros, and I haven't got around to it. And I've got a crazy weekend, working again all day the rest of the day here today, all day Sunday. I am off Monday, Labor Day, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything on the channel Monday or not. I think I will, though. I think I'll do something. Not exactly sure what time. May do something live, or may just do something pre-recorded. We'll see. I'll come up with something. Yeah, Dan, you love the TinyCore review. That was a very tough distro to review, to TinyCore, because I had to do it in a VM. I really couldn't do it on physical hardware, because TinyCore, there's almost nothing to it. I mean, you're not going to install any kind of streaming software like OBS, or even things like Simple Screen Recorder. None of that was in the repos. And then getting TinyCore to function correctly in VirtualBox was a nightmare. I mean, it took me a long time to figure out exactly what settings I needed to give it, especially keyboard and mouse. You have to change the mouse input from USB mouse to PS2. If you don't do that, you're not going to get TinyCore to function correctly. So, and I had help from somebody helping me with that, because it took me a little while to figure that out. I think it was Surge. You guys know Surge, of course. Posts pretty much on all the Linux channels. You know, very active in the YouTube Linux community, Surge. He helped me with that. So TinyCore, also these other really minimal distros, things like Puppy, or damn small Linux has of course been damn dead for years. But those really stripped down Linux distros that almost nothing to them. Usually you need to change the mouse input to PS2 instead of USB. Otherwise, you're going to get some weird glitches. The mouse is not going to function correctly. It'll only function on one half of the screen. It's really strange. Anyway, Silent Robot, thanks for the stream, DT. Don't work too hard. I never do. They're not going to get much out of me today. Yeah. Yeah, it's 1,200 hours. Get your act together. Yep. Yeah. It's time. It's time for me to get out and do something. Yeah, Big Daddy. Yeah, definitely invited. Spattry, yeah. Make sure you get him on there tonight. I wish I could join you guys. If I'm able to join you guys, Rocco, it'll be half an hour before you kill the stream. At the earliest, like best case scenario. Worst case scenario is I miss it and I have to catch it on the replay. But I'll do that if I have to. Let's see. Yeah, Spattry, he's going to consider it. Yeah. It's always a good time over on Big Daddy Spattry. You know, it's just your standard, just casual conversation. Just pull up the Zoom video conference call. And, whoever shows up, shows up. Wherever the conversation goes. Sometimes it goes in strange places. Really fantastic, really, what Rocco does every Saturday night over on Big Daddy Linux Live. Really responsible for why the YouTube Linux community is what it is Rocco. He really is a driving force behind that. Why we have such a great community. Why we have such a great community that joins all our streams here. Such great conversation, comments on videos. You won't find a community like this anywhere else. The Linux YouTube community, you won't. Windows doesn't have this kind of community. Mac doesn't have this kind of community. We have this kind of community, though. And it's beautiful. All right, yep. Dan says, we will miss you, DT. I'll be back. I'll be back probably Monday. Again, I'm off all day Monday. I'll probably do a little something Monday. Don't want to work too hard. I mean, it is a holiday. But I'll make sure I stop in for a few minutes Monday. Do some kind of short video, maybe pre-recorded, or do maybe a short live stream maybe that evening. Maybe do something fun. Maybe do some gaming. I haven't done that in a while. It won't be Ballistic Overkill, though, because every time I join Ballistic Overkill, Rocco is just hell on wheels with that sniper of his. I don't know how many hours he's practiced on Ballistic Overkill, but it is just unreal. And I get tired of dying constantly. It's embarrassing, especially on live streams. So I will pick a different game if I do game Monday night. Yeah. Rob, yep. Happy Labor Day, comrades. Big Daddy, I don't know what you're talking about, DT. Yeah. That's his aimbot. You're right, Silent Robot. You caught him. It's an aimbot. Between him and Michael's ninja going around slicing everybody up with that Ginsu knife of his. Anyway, I do have to get going, guys. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This was fun. Before I go, of course, as always, I have to give a special thanks to my patrons, all my Patreon supporters, and I'm talking about A.K., Alan, Alex, Anson, Tony, Bart, Benjamin, Ben, Bill, Bruno, Brian, Carlos, Christian, Chuck, Dan, the other Dan, Daniel, David, the other David, Dirk, Eduardo, Francisco, Greg, Humate, Interceptor, Jake, John, Carl, Katrina, Keith, Leor, Marcus, the other Marcus, Matt, Matteo, Mark, Martin, Matthias, Michael, Mr. GFY, Mr. Smarty Pants, Mr. Neely Pops, Paul, Rob, Robert, Ron, Silvio, First Stephen, Second Stephen, Third Stephen, Swami, Tiedemann, Voice Lab, Tubella, and John. You guys rock. You guys help make this show possible. Peace, guys.